So good. So we're re-unwrapping the cube here for our extra practice. Okay, so let's hold shift and let's start right-clicking that edge, that edge, that edge, that edge, all the ones kind of going back, and then the back tongue. This one, this one, this one. It's a lot of edges, okay? If you had a huge shape, a human figure, something like that, there'd be a lot of seams, but it won't be almost all the edges by any means. It'll be a small minority of the edges, okay? So Control E. All right, let's say mark seam, okay? And then select everything, U for unwrap, boom, and there we are. Okay? Now, if you can't do that, you have to you're catching up, if you're having any issues, you can just do a dumb unwrap. As long as you get the thing unwrapped, you'll be able to deal. Even if it just looks like one square, like that's the dumb unwrap, like every face on the texture, it'll be enough to at least push ahead with what we're going to do next. Okay, what we're going to do next is, I want to show you two methods. We're going to kind of do the old school method because I still think it's useful, especially for kind of some of the rough and ready stuff that we do for our thesis work here, where the look of it is not the point, some practical point. So, because the old method was you paint these objects up with a lot of detail in them. And more the new method, I think, though I was just realizing today, I really would like to go on Amazon and see what people have to offer for for books for sale there, for what they're teaching new people who are doing modeling. Because I think the world's changed a lot with modeling, and I think it's much more typical these days that you're going to take something, if it's going to be a car, like the way they're going to do it is the tires, the hubcaps, the bumpers, then the main body of the chassis, everything that actually looks different or has like a different paint on it is probably going to be a separate object. And you make a special material, because that's, you've all seen what the computer graphics these days are capable of. It's amazing, okay? People care about every detail, and you just can't do that when you try to just slap a texture on and handle all of your issues with the painting, okay? So after I've talked up painting down, let's do some painting, because it still is useful. It's the U key. If you have everything selected, and you're in the edit window, okay, and hit U, just unwrap. All right, now, since we're going to paint, we don't have a texture to work with, okay? We need to create a new image type file. So if you go on the left-hand pane here, down here, under New, you can say New, and I would definitely recommend not going with Untitled. Let's give this thing a name. My texture.png is a good file extension, I think, to use. So, the difference between PNG files and JPEG files, I think you've probably seen all of them. What's the difference between a PNG file and a JPEG file? That's true. It can do transparencies. That's a good point, and that's actually important for texturing sometimes. Another thing, though, is that PNG is a lossless format, and JPEG is a lossy format. Lossy just means it's approximate. When you go and you represent a file as a JPEG and you unpack it, it's not going to be exactly what you packed. It's almost what you packed. And in fact, the details are so small, most people aren't worried about it. And the good thing about a lossy format is, thanks to the loss, the file size gets a lot smaller than with a lossless format type of thing. But for technical work, I feel picky, and I want things to be pixel for pixel the way I said they were. I don't want the system having any losses that make things different, so I like PNGs rather than JPEGs. But if you like the JPEGs, you can go for it. Except if you need transparency, as Bert says, that's actually another very important distinction. Okay, so if I do that and I click OK, you see it turned black here. That's my new texture. It's born black. Now what I want to do is get set up. So I need to actually link it. But you might think it's already, there's my object, and there's its unwrap, and there's the texture. Aren't they linked together? They're really not for Blender, or they're not linked enough. So let me show you what we got to do. We got to go back. I prefer to do this in the default display. I'm going to go back here and go on this pane to the right. Okay, this what do they call it? The properties pane. Go looking for. see. I think this this texture icon, this one looks like a checkerboard, is the texture icon. So if you click there, you see it already has a texture there. I hate how they do that. And it's perfectly okay to kill it, or we could actually use it. I think I'm going to kill it, because I want to make a new one and name it myself. I think you could probably just rename the one they have too. Okay, so I'll call it again, my texture. Okay, and it's set to be of type image or movie. That's good. And then if you come down here, there's an image subpane where you can set it to the specific texture file. This just basically opens up a slot in my object to say, okay, it's ready. It's a receptacle that's ready to plug in a texture, but I haven't plugged anything in yet. Okay. Now we already made it, so I don't need to click new. I want to come over here to open. No, I don't want to go to open. I want to actually, if you click on the thing that looks like an image here, it should show you your texture that's already there, so you don't even need to open it. I can't open it because it's actually not on my disk yet. So if you select that, then you should be good. Now if you're not good, you're going to know right away, because it's not going to let you paint on the object. So you'll be stuck. You'll be like, why is nothing changing? Okay, that would be why. All right? Okay, now we want to paint this thing. So what we want to do is we want to go out of edit mode into texture paint mode. You see that? Texture paint mode. There it is. Okay, now for texture paint mode, I really don't like these controls. I bet there are shortcuts, but I just don't know them. Okay, so you can set the size of your brush. My size is okay. You can also set how much the brush is actually going to make a change when you press. Okay, if you have this as anything less than 1, the model it's kind of like when you're spray painting. Like if you spray paint quickly across a thing, you know it's not going to be like a nice solid color like it shows on the front of the can, right? I mean, it's just going to be the slight mist on there. You got to go back and forth several times, okay? If you've got a fraction up here, that's the model. It's the spray paint model. Sometimes it's exactly what you want, but for right now, especially because I'm in a hurry, I'm going to crank that all the way up to 1, okay? And now wherever I click over here, it should immediately make a full. My color is white, so it should make it full white. Now I was going for a dye, so white is a good color for a dye, but you know what? I'm going to make this a red dye. Red's another traditional color. Let me go for red, just as everything's white already in our Unity world by default. Okay, now it would probably help me to make the brush bigger, but I'll just suffer through, paint a little bit. Okay, again, middle mouse is can orbit it around, so you can get to the other side. Middle mouse, and you want to do a good job. And you'll notice as you're painting, every so often this preview updates. That's your actual texture file. So you're actually it's figuring out where on that texture those locations are according to the UV coordinates, and it's coloring them the right color. All right, now once I got that done, the next thing is I want to put some pips on this thing. I think this circle is kind of a bit big for a pip, so I think I better tone it down a bit. 22, how's that? Okay, that doesn't look too bad. I want to go back to white. Okay, I guess like that. That looks pretty white. Okay, and now I want to actually paint the pips on this thing. So I can go here in the middle of this one, and there. That's too small. Actually, I do need it bigger. Go back to 30. Yeah, and why is it gray? Get one. Maybe just the lighting isn't very good. I guess we'll know when we export it. Kind of weird. Okay, not totally happy with that, but I don't want to play around with it. At least I want to make sure it can get you all so it works. Now, if you've ever looked at a die carefully, you know that the opposite sides always sum to 7. All right, so if this one's the 1, on the other side over here would be the 6. And don't hold me to anything, because my hand's not steady enough to do this real well. I'm no artist, but you get the general idea. This would be the 3 side. I'll let this guy be the 2. And then the bottom, I guess that would be the 5. And what does that leave? It leaves 3 and 4, right? Boom. 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 Okay. All right. I don't hear too many moans of dismay in the in the multitude here? Are things kind of working? Fading out? Not quite. Does that mean not at all, or does that mean not perfectly?
I was having issues getting it to unwrap.
Okay. You could just select it. Don't do any edges and just do a dumb unwrap. You won't be able to do a die, but at least you can draw on it to just. Doesn't matter at this point. I just want you to see that we create something and you get the same thing out in Unity. That's kind of victory enough for this morning, and then you could work on the fine points for you got a whole nother week where you have to actually do something more real to turn in. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I've kind of learned that the texture has to kind of be saved separately. So I want to actually go back to that UV layout so I can get at the texture window and go over here. If you go under image here, okay, you can see, well, actually I want to do two things. Let's export the geometry first. So I have my die over here. I'm going to select it, get out of texture paint mode, get into object mode. Now you'll notice it's not showing the texture. That's a little disconcerting, but that just is because of the rendering mode. So you see that white sphere. If you click here and say texture, now you get like a lit texture. It's black because of exactly where the light is in the scene. Don't worry about that. Okay? All right? Now we can try to just, let's export this thing. Okay, so if you got it selected, we can go over, let's go File. Actually, first let me, where should I put this thing? Let me find my project directory for the one my Unity scene, and just make a subdirectory to dump my art assets in. I don't know if that's the best way to be organized, but at least it's somewhat organized. Okay, that's not going to do it. Gotta find it. Unity 3203. No, I think it's actually my test subdirectory. Okay. What's going on here? I'm not seeing it. Maybe it is an MV3203. Yeah, okay. In class demo. So I'm going to go in here and what am I going to do? Nah, you know what? Well, let's try it. It'll be an experiment. I'll go in under assets and I'll make a subdirectory, and I will call this thing red dye. Okay. All right. And now I can come over here and save the red dye in that directory, and I'm also going to save the texture there. I think I'm going to still need to do it. They're always changing the import process, so I'm not 100% confident, but we'll make it work. All right, so the first thing is, so two things. The geometry, the vertices, the edges, the faces, all that stuff, that's what I'm going to deal with first. So I'm going to go to File, Export. FBX, you see that FBX format? That's one that Unity, actually, you know what? You can actually read the raw blend file these days. Yeah, that's the latest thing they added. So actually, I don't actually need to do that, but I better save my blend file. Right now, I don't even have a blend file. Let's do Save As and make a blend file. All right. So again, I got to walk back to where I am. Sandbox. Now, Blender will remember where you were last. So look at the recent on the side to find your recent locations. You don't have to walk there every single time manually. Where am I? Yeah, Unity, MV3203, in class demo, assets, red dye. Okay, there it is, and I'm going to call it red dye.blend, red-dye. Okay, save. All right, and then I'm also going to come over here. If the UV window, if you see under image, it's got a star after image. That means that you've made some changes that aren't saved. That's the way they indicate that. So if I go here and I say save as image, I can come over M texture. I called it M texture instead of my texture. Apparently that's fine. Okay, it is in the right directory. Let me just save it. All right. Okay. Now, let's try this. If we go back into a Unity scene, if you don't have your one from the other day, you can just have a totally fresh one. You won't be able to easily walk around, you won't have other stuff, but you can still go through the steps. Okay, let me turn off it's running, let me turn that off. Okay, let me go into, in the Assets menu, down to, well actually, do I even need to import new assets? Let's see how smart it is. Did it actually pull it in already? See, since it's under Assets, yeah, here it is. Under Red Dye, it's actually there already. Okay? Now you see, it knows, a cube is so generic, this is not very convincing, but it actually does know it's a cube because it can read the blend file. Now the unfortunate thing, I can actually take this now and drag it right into my scene, okay, and there it is, and actually, Red Dye, let me go here. Okay, the problem is it's not red, because for whatever reason, it's nice that it made it read blend files, but it doesn't handle the textures for you automatically yet, at least not that I've seen. Maybe there's a workflow that does that, but I don't know it. So I've got to separately deal with this texture. Okay, how do we get the texture on this? Okay, you can't directly put a texture on some geometry in Unity. The texture has to be part of a material. Again, here, material is the generic thing in Unity that says how a thing looks. Okay, so I need a new material. So let's come over here and let's make a new material. Create material. Okay, and we'll call it, I'm going to call it Red Dye Material. Red Dye Material. Okay, now you look, you see it's just a plain white material. What you can do is you can click albedo, basically is the same as like diffuse. It's basically kind of the normal look of the thing, okay? As opposed to how metallic it is, or I'll explain some of these other things later. So this is the one which is more the normal look. If you click on the button here, you can pick a texture and look. If you did it the way I did, this texture is here. If you didn't do it the way I did and you put it in some other directory where Unity didn't go and find it, what you've got to do first is you've got to go in here, Assets, you've got to go Import New Asset, and you have to bring in the .blend file, step 1, bring in the texture file, step 2, and then you'll be where I am. Okay? It was actually pretty clever to just directly put it in the directory. I saved some steps. I'm proud. All right. Great. So, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I already put it. Yeah, look. So we got the material there. Look at that. Okay. Clearly my material pasted on the side of a sphere. Looks a little weird, especially at the bottom. But there you have it. And now what you can do is you can go to my Red Dye material. You can drag it right up on your Red Dye. Release. And voila. A red dye. And if I go into and click the play button, and this is the part I really look forward to. Now I could maybe, oh, there it is on the other side of the world. Okay, run, 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 run. It's going to take me forever. I really regret making my ground as big as it is. There it is. The magical, levitating red dye. Okay? All right. So, victory. Something came across into Unity. Now, there is other, let's say that's kind of the old workflow. So in the past, when you had a person, not just with skin and hair, but also glasses and maybe a weapon and clothing and shirts and pants and boots and all that stuff, literally it'd be one texture file. If you open that texture file, it needs to be all there. It would all be unwrapped in one monolithic thing, and everything would be painted on. If you look at like the way games looked like, 15 years ago, that's the process people were using. Again, these days, I think people are much more picky. They want to create materials with every tiny little thing. Even when you zoom really up close on an object in a cutting-edge game or simulation, you will see it looks pretty pristine. After a certain point, your eye gets close enough, it does get pixelized. You start to see artifacts, okay? But generally, things are pretty good these days. Okay, so how do we do something like that? So to do something like that, let me turn off escape, turn off my running simulation here. Okay, let's do another cube, and let's try to use the other workflow. I could even use the same one, but I could actually just use the same one. Maybe I'll just use the same one. Okay. All right. Well, I'll make another one. All right. Let me show you something. I'm going to hide this one away here. Let me go back to the main pane. Okay. And there's my default cube. Let me turn on texture rendering so I remember which one it is. Okay, let's just kind of move it off to the side. Okay. Actually, you know what? I really better use a new blend file, especially the way I'm doing it, where Unity is importing a blend file. If Unity gets confused, I will have no idea how to unconfuse it. Right? If I put my other box here, it's gonna get confused. I just know it. Okay, so I'm going to save my blend file. Restart Blender. Say you can just do Control N. Okay, allow it to reload. Okay, new cube, completely new environment. Let's go. Okay, same process. Go to UV. Should be getting pretty good at this by this point. Okay, I'll select here, edge select, hold the Shift key, select all the edges I want. Actually, for this, I could probably even have just have not even bothered to do a smart unwrap because I really want to show something else. But let's go. Let's see, mark seam. Okay, select everything. Unwrap. All right. Okay. All right. So let's coming up to the current time. Let's say we want this thing to be a certain material. It's supposed to be, a box that's, made of, part of a stone wall or a crate or part of a floor, some kind of a material. How would we proceed? Okay, we're not going to proceed unless you have awesome artistic chops and don't really care. Even if you're an awesome artist, if you want realism, you have to work with photographs. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You could be Rembrandt, but you can tell a Rembrandt painting from a photograph. Okay, so you're going to work from photographs. So you got to go looking for photographs. Now, these photographs, when we're looking for something to paste on the 3D model, are the right way to Google for them is as textures. Okay. Hello. Wow. What is the deal? Doesn't want to give me another browser window. That is so weird. Very strange. All right, I got one. All right, so we can go looking for free textures. See what we can find. Okay. So, all right, so this is the sort of thing we're talking about. Now, one of the things you should be aware of, let me actually look for tiling textures. Do you know what it means for a texture to tile?
It repeats over.
Yeah, it repeats in a seamless way. So that if you take this thing and you were to paste another copy of it right below, it would the bottom edge of this thing matches with the top edge of that same image, so it would look seamless. Same thing left to right. So I could take this and tile it. If I were trying to make a floor of a room, right? And that's not enough boards to make a floor of a room, but it is if it will tile. Now, I don't know if this thing will tile. In fact, I can tell you looking at it, does it tile or does it not tile?
Probably not.
It does not, for sure. Why? We can look at this crack in this board. Okay? The crack down here is not going to line up with the crack at the top. So if you go and repeat this, you're going to have seams everywhere the image repeats, and you're not going to be very happy. Okay, so let's, just for fun, I'm going to look for a tiling texture. Now, you don't need tiling all the time. It depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, again, if you're using it for the floor of a large space, or you're looking for a picture of some brick, so you want to make it into the brick side of a building or a brick wall, you're going to need things to tile. Okay, All right, so let's look for free tiling textures. I did see someone. They're a lot more rare to find. There's just max textures. This is what I found the other day. Let's see what we get here. First it was telling me it couldn't be trusted. Then it decided, oh, well, let's just trust it anyway. Okay, let's go. I want to go for a wood texture. Let's look for an alternative to what we just had there. Something that would be like a floorboard kind of texture. Well, maybe like this, like wood beams. This could be like for a crate or something like maybe like in a shoot house or something like that. Something pretty rough looking, a little rough and ready looking. Let's go with that guy. Okay, so I click on him. It loads in. So that's actually 2,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels. There's a lot of pixels there. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have gone with something that big, but I'll take it. Save image as. Okay, and what I really need is I want to have a new directory right next to where I was looking. But okay, we'll take it then. We'll take it. It's a JPEG, but we won't hold it against it. I'll take what we can get. Beggars can't be choosers. All right, red dye. Okay, so I'm going to have over here new. We'll just call it wood box. It's not going to be much of a box, but it'll be a good demonstration. Okay, so wood box. All right, so good, wood box. Now let me find that texture I just brought down and bring it over in there. Wood planks, just to have it handy. Okay, drop it into there. Okay, good. Now I'll go into my blend file and let me save my file. I'm not done, but let me just save it into that directory. Okay, now you see the way you maneuver here is you see this bendy arrow over here. This goes up to the parent directory. Kind of wish they would just use a conventional, thing which was the same from your, as your operating system uses overall, but they don't. Let me go over into wood box, and instead of untitled.blend, we'll call it woodbox.blend. Okay, save. Okay, so there's my wood box. All right, now what I want to do is I want to bring in that image. So let's see what we're actually going to get if I put the wood on this thing. Let's open image. There's my wood planks. Let's bring it right in. There it is. So you can kind of see how it works. All right, now if we wanted to use this, I want to use this for tiling. Okay, so this is really going to be a weird thing. This is not going to really be like a crate. This is going to be like some monumental giant wooden cube. Let's imagine this thing is, like 30 feet by 30 feet by 30 feet on its side, something like that, like something big. Okay, so you need it to tile. Okay, these boards can't be. That doesn't look like a 30-foot long board to me. I'm going to need to use the tiling. I'm just making some work for myself here. Okay, now how do you make that work? Okay, and so if I go like this, you can see what I'm going to get, right? If this is what I get on one side of the cube, that's not going to look like a 30 by 30 foot, 30 by 30, that 30 foot width cube, right? It's going to look way, way, way smaller. Okay, all right. So how do I fix it? You grab all your edges over here and you scale them. Okay, if you want to put your mouse in the middle of the screen, hit S. Okay, and just kind of scale them up. All right, and then left click down. Now what's going to happen is that tiling texture is going to repeat. It's a pity you can't actually see it there. I can maybe see it over here. Let's go out of edit mode and go into tell it to be a textured representation. Okay, and there it is. Okay, can you see it tiling? Do you see the repetition from here to here?
So what mode? So you went back over and what did you go to?
I went to my 3D window, or the default one would be just fine too. I went back into object mode, and then I changed the rendering mode to be textured Reddit mode so I could actually see what the texture looks like on there. All right. Now that looks like, I don't know if it's going to be a 30-foot cube, but it's close. All right. So I'm going to live with that. Let's see if we can actually get that out into.
Can you please show that again?
Yes. From what point did you expand the unwrap?
I have the texture engineer.
Okay.
But now the texture is only one side of my cube.
Oh, okay. So what I did was I selected so if you come over here, go into edit mode, select everything, right? And then you can hit S and just pull the mouse down and it will scale, 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 and that will force it to tile.
Okay.
Okay?
I have this.
All right? And then on this side over here, you want to go out of edit mode into object mode and make sure the rendering is texture. See this over here? This guy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now let's see if we can make that actually look right in Unity. I'm not sure. Let's give it a shot.
So we
So I don't know
have
if
to,
you have the same. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we don't have to save anything now?
We maybe should. That's a good idea. Let's go File, Save. Okay,
so now
that should do
file
it.
should have that texture pre-wrapped to it.
Yeah, it doesn't though.
Okay.
Yeah, the texture always comes in separate, and that really. But the UVs should be such that it should work, right? Those UVs should show between 0 and 1. That's the way UVs generally run, between 0 and 1. That should just be a little part of the cube instead of stretched over the whole face, which would be more normal if it were a small object. So hopefully that information's there. We're going to know in a minute.
I
Question?
don't know if you have maybe the same problem I'm having with this problem at all. When I rotate around my cube, only two decided to
It's because of the light. The light is weird. There's a checkbox somewhere where you can make the scene unlit. Yeah, can't remember where it is though. Yeah, that's not really an issue. Okay, if you got two sides, you got them all. Trust me. All right, let's go into Unity. If it wants to let me. All right, we'll go back into Unity. Let's go into, so for me, since I'm putting everything right in Unity's asset flow, it's right there. My wood box is right here. So I'm going to grab it and pull it out here. Hey, the texture's on there. Why is it working now? And it didn't work before. That's the first time I've ever seen it work in one fell swoop. Let's zoom in on it and see if it's actually got the right. Yeah, and you can see there's a lot of boards there. That's a big cube. Okay, so I can take this thing, you can bring it up. Now, if that's a die and that's a cube, I probably ought to scale this up a bit. Yeah. So let's go to scale. Should be monumental. All right, there we go. And now I can go back and move it up and get it off my die because I still want my die there. Okay, and now I can turn on play and drop into my scene, and after a lengthy run, because I made my ground way too big, I can enjoy bask in the glories of my big cube. All right.
So,
Yes.
we go back to rollerball, and we wanted to have a long wall. All we did with that one was scale it.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not, and that white, your affection on that thing.
Yeah.
With this, it will stretch our texture.
Yeah, probably will. Yeah, it certainly will. Yeah.
So you would have to essentially make that in Blender the length that you wanted.
There you go. That's exactly the solution. All right. Now, let's. Okay, let me show you. If you guys will look, are you all in a good? Can you guys listen now? If you're, is it too? It's too enamoring. But there is a material example Unity project that I put on Sakat. We don't have a lot of time, but you just download that thing. I'm going to show it here. Then you can, on your own, even if it's slow to download, you don't open it right now. You can take a look on your own later. But that's what I'm going to be demonstrating here. So I'm going to, let's say I'm going to drop out of this, stop playing, save your scene. Hits. I don't know if both are necessary, but I usually hit save here and then save project. Probably just paranoid. I would assume maybe if you save the project, it saves everything, but I'm not sure. Okay, and then I'm going to tell this thing to open a new project, and that's going to be that material example that you're downloading. Anyway, the first time you download it, it's going to be slow to open. That's going to have to recreate a bunch of stuff that exists only on my disk. But I want to show you something. to get you thinking about what our next step should be. Because we've almost got everything that you want to have for next Friday, minus some experience, or maybe a tutorial online if you want, but we don't have literally everything. Okay, so you guys noticed in that material pane, when I create a new material, it's got a lot of stuff there, yeah? It's got all kinds of drop-down boxes and check boxes, and I'm like ignoring the whole thing. Okay, so now I want to backfill a little bit. Let's talk about some of those more important things. So what I've got on the right side here is I've got 4 different scenes, and what I'm going to actually start with is this texture scene. Here.
Where did you save those at? Where did you extract your materials from?
Oh, I don't know. It should have its own. It needs its own subdirectory structure, so it'll want to extract as a. Hopefully, it'll extract as its own subdirectory.
Will we use the file again in the future?
I don't know. Up to you. For your studying use, you're not. There's nothing mandated to do with this at all, but it may be helpful to have. Okay, so let me actually zoom in here. Let's take a look. What is the difference between the picture on the left and the picture on the right? Which one looks more 3D? Yeah, in a big way. Okay. Right. So the next learning point, which you may have touched on a little bit in your last work, but maybe not, is that textures in modern 3D graphics are a convenient format for a whole lot of information beyond just what color a thing should be at a particular point in the model. Okay, that's the single most important use still today, but there are other uses. Okay, the difference between these two cubes is that they both have the exact same texture applied to them the exact same way, but this one is using 2 or probably 3 different additional textures to capture other kinds of information that a properly prepared sim can then use to create the illusion of 3D. Okay? It really is the illusion of 3D though. Because this one really looks like it's a rough surface, right? But is it really a rough surface? How can you tell it's not really a rough surface? Look at the top edge. Thank you. Exactly what I wanted to say. He's not a paid show, really. Okay, if you look at the top edge, you should be able to see a little bit of deformation up there, and it's not. It's just perfectly flat. The geometry is exactly just that of a normal cube. It's just 6 perfectly flat sides. Everything you see in terms of looks like 3D is all fake. No real geometry there. Okay, so that should maybe make you interested in how can you do this. Now, to actually do this, really well, really takes an artist. It really takes someone with some artistic touch. But you've got some pretty good faking tools now that I think you will be able to use, and most of you will probably be able to use these effectively for what you turn in a week from Friday. So that's going to be one of the big learning points, I guess, for tomorrow, will be what are those textures? How can you generate them? How can you make stuff? This may or may not be to your taste, may or may not be something you want to use all the time, but to have that in your arsenal, I think is very valuable. Okay, so let me get out of here. All right, so let's start with scene 1, though, and let's take a look at what's here. So these objects here are all just perfectly flat. If you move your eye around, look at that. If you look at them from the side, it's like they don't exist. And if you look at them from the back, of course, they don't exist for a different reason. Okay, so they really are just planes. Planes are used, even in modern 3D sims, they are used to fake a remarkable variety of things. Now, back in the day, so I worked on the first massive multiplayer game where we had actual 3D environment. Okay? And every tree in our environment was one of these things. It was basically just a picture, okay? And it was set up as what's called a billboard. It actually would automatically rotate to face the camera. So if you saw that tree and you walk around to see if you can look at it from the edge and see that it's fake because you suspect it's fake, you can't get around it. It just turns to face you wherever you go, okay? And that was how we did trees back in the day. Now you make laugh at that and say, well, that's ridiculous. Life is much better now. Well, it kind of is, but for things that are way far in the distance, like trees, where you can't actually walk around them to see their fate, you know, a system like Unity or another system is still doing that for as, you know, as much as possible. That's how we do the magic of letting you have a huge terrain like we have in today's games and simulations. If we had to do everything for real, with real 3D geometry at all times, there is no way we could do a flight simulator. There is no way we could do a ground simulator. Okay? So this is still an essential trick. Now, so you might actually be doing some of this. You might totally not do this, but I wanted to just show this. The difference between these is they're all just a quad. A quad is a thing you can create using that's just a square. There's a way to build a square here rather than in Blender. They're just a quad with a texture pasted on it. So exact same texture. What's the difference? Some of those other buttons that I've been ignoring. Okay? So if you go and grab one of these guys, okay, let's see. So what's the easy way to see it? I guess I have to grab it. Grab it up here. Okay, you can see this guy has opaque matte attached to him. Let's take a look at opaque matte. Right, gotta click on him. Okay, so you can kind of see how he's set up. Okay, now what I'm playing with here is, even when I'm all done, as per usual, as for everything in this course, when I'm all done and I've droned on for minute after minute, I will still have just talked about, you know, the top 5% of what's available there. But I'm trying to do it in an intelligent way and give you the more useful things. Okay, so this setting is right here. You see there's a bunch of options: opaque, cutout, fade, and transparent, right? And if you look at the objects here, oh, that's exactly what they are. They show you the same texture. So just to save you some time, you could easily set this up for yourself, but you can quickly look at this and get what is the distinction. Okay, so if you say opaque, it takes those pixels that the ping is a ping texture, right? As Barrett says, that's the one that can handle transparency. It says it's supposed to be transparent, but it makes it opaque. Okay, that's one. It looks like a picture of a tree on a black background. Cutout, okay, is more the one that we would use today to fake a tree in a distance. So if you actually go and let's go up here and get up close to it, you see that it's kind of pixel by pixel cut out, as it says. If it's clear, okay, it doesn't put anything, but otherwise there's an abrupt transition between nothing and where there's color in the texture. Okay, fade is over here, so it tries to be a little more smooth. Okay, you see if you look like the edges of the leaves, you will see that they're more jaggy over here. This one takes a very rigorous interpretation. It says the texture says this pixel is here. Okay, it's in. It's not here. It's completely out. This one smooths it a little bit. The fade. Okay. Now both of those are useful. Okay. This trick is not, by the way, only used for trees. You might use this for like a screen window or something like that. That's very thin, but it's got a lot of structure to it, right? All those little lines of screen, right? That's something that's better captured in a texture, okay, than trying to actually create those in 3D. What other kinds of stuff? Oh, like a grill. Like sometimes if you have like a fence with like real thin posts going in it, people will look at the real thin posts. They won't build those in 3D geometry. They'll use something like this. Okay, so that would be one of these two modes. And this, what does that look like? It looks like the tree is almost painted on some glass, right? So that's the transparent mode is what you use for glass. You'll actually see that in a minute. Okay, in the next demo. So we go to the next scene, transparency, double click on that. Okay, here you see a sphere. Okay, well, let me start with this one. Here you see I brought in an image, which is an image of broken glass, right? And it's sitting there probably, is that in cutout mode? Let's see what mode that's actually in. Broken glass matte. Oh, it's actually in fade mode. Okay, again, just one of the modes. If we went and changed that, if you wanted the glass not to be so transparent, ironically, you could say transparent mode, and then you'd get that, right? The problem with that is where the glass is actually broken, it still looks like there's glass there. So actually, to do a better job of this, we probably need to do something a little more elaborate. Okay, let me put it back. Okay, and then this sphere here, has some material that is just, it's just a plain default white material, but I've set it to transparent, and it does a pretty good job of mocking up a glass sphere. Okay. All right, what else can we show you? There's more here to play with. The other things that are important are these knobs here. I found these to be important, and that's where I kind of stopped. My coverage kind of stopped. Metallicness versus smoothness. Okay? Now you might wonder, what's the effect of that? I mean, it is kind of intuitive. More metallic should mean like more shiny, right? More metal looking versus less. And more smooth versus rough. Okay, we understand something that's smooth reflects light different from something that's rough, right? Anyone who's painted with, you know, semi-gloss paint versus flat paint at home knows very well what the difference is, okay? And if you click on that demo there, again, what this is, it's just a bunch of spheres where I've created the exact same white color material, but then I've messed with the setting. So this one over here is full-on smooth, full-on metallic. You can see it's basically like a mirror. It's reflecting the environment around. This one's less metallic, even less metallic, but all these up here are smooth, and then along this axis, things get more and more rough. So rough metallic versus non-rough metallic is a lot less dramatic than the difference at the top, but depends what you want, right? Notice the difference in the highlights right now, right? Quite different as things get more rough. These like semi-metallic objects. So that should give you some intuition and maybe make you a little more efficient when it goes time and you're wrangling those buttons. And should you even touch them, this might help you decide. Okay, so I think that's more than enough for today. In the back of your minds, I hope you're a little bit curious about that. It is a pretty dramatic effect. It's not all that hard to at least do a quick fake, and I'll show you that tomorrow.